Hello, my name is Heather Hoffman, and this is my presentation on the brain-based learning theory. The brain-based learning theory is based on 12 brain principles that provide a general theoretical foundation for the brain-based learning approach to teaching. The principles are simple and neurologically sound, according to the research of Jeffrey and Renate Kane, as well as a number of other neurologists and scientists since the 1990s. Kane states that we understand and make sense of things if we see the relevance of what we're learning. The principles have been modified slightly since the 90s with additional research, but they have stood the test of time, and they do provide educators with an understanding of what actually happens in the brain when people learn. In his book, A Celebration of Neurons, An Educator's Guide to the Human Brain, educator Robert Sylvester says, the human brain is the best organized, most functional 3 pounds of matter in the known universe. Other educators are relying on brain-based learning theory to take advantage of the growing body of evidence that neurologists are uncovering about how humans learn. During the past few decades, known as the decade of the brain, a number of scientists have been using new technologies, such as the MRI and PET scans, to help explore how human brains process memory, emotion, attention, and patterns. In addition, scientists are able to study how we are able to memorize and recall information, as well as how we manage information and information overload. Now, these are the 12 principles that brain-based learning theory are based upon. When this theory is applied to education, it does cause teachers to reach beyond their traditional models to orchestrate an environment conducive to learning based on brain research. Now, in this presentation, I will briefly discuss each of the 12 principles as well as the implications for education and instructional design. Principle 1, all learning is physiological. Learning is as natural as breathing. Neuron growth and nourishment relate to the perception and interpretations of experiences. Now, stress and other threats affect our brain and actually influence the brain differently than when we have peace or, say, challenges, boredom, happiness, or contentment. The actual wiring of the brain is affected by school and life experiences. So, when designing instruction, we need to keep in mind that students need to have a relaxed, peaceful experience, but yet we want to challenge them. We don't want to bore them with the content. Principle 2, the brain and mind is social. The brain performs many functions simultaneously. Our thoughts, emotions, imaginations all operate concurrently along with other brain processes that include our social and cultural knowledge. So we'll want to keep that in mind when we're designing instruction, that we do want to include social or collaborative activities. Principle 3, the search for meaning is innate. Searching for meaning is due to the need to basically survive. We want to provide a stable and familiar learning environment, but we also want to satisfy the curiosity of the students when designing instruction. Principle 4, the search for meaning occurs through patterning. The brain is both scientist and artist. It attempts to discern and understand patterns as they occur. So as an instructional designer, you want to be sure to provide problem solving and critical thinking activities. Principle 5, emotions are critical to patterning. What we learn is influenced and organized by our emotions, our personal biases, and the need for social interaction. So as instructional designers, we need to understand that students' feelings and attitudes will be involved in the learning process. And as teachers, we would want to provide a supportive classroom environment. Principle 6, the brain-mind processes parts and wholes simultaneously. In a healthy person, the left brain, right brain hemispheres are actually interactive. So as an instructional designer, you want to be sure to connect reading, math, art, and music to help develop these concepts further. We should not separate or isolate these subjects. We want to be sure to integrate them when possible. Principle 7, learning involves both focused attention and peripheral perception. The brain absorbs information of which it is directly aware and to which it is paying attention to. However, there's other stimuli that includes the lighting or signals that teachers make or things on the instructional lesson that are not consciously noticed. So instructional designers should consider their visuals and illustrations, music, other background noises as ways to enhance the natural acquisition of information and not detract from it. Principle 8, learning always involves conscious and unconscious processes. We learn much more than we ever consciously understand. So therefore be sure to design instruction that includes active processing such as cognitive activities. Principle 9, there are at least two approaches to memory: archiving isolated facts and skills or making sense of experience. Archiving isolated facts and skills, just know that we have a natural spatial memory system that does not need rehearsal. For example, you probably remember what you had for dinner last night. However, when it comes to, say, multiplication facts, those are organized differently. They're going to require more repetition. But designers should not ignore the personal world of the learner and try to connect these concepts to real-world contexts when possible. Principle 10, learning is developmental, such as learning our native language. So therefore, teachers should include as many real-life activities as possible, and as well as instructional designers should also include things that are real life and that relate to the students. Principle 11, complex learning is enhanced by challenge and inhibited by threat associated with helplessness. Therefore, we want our students to be challenged, but without threatening them to learn. So think about students who have math anxiety. You want to provide them with, think about the zone of proximal development of the students when you're designing the instruction. Make sure that all students can attain part of that problem. You want to be sure to give a relaxed alertness to students, an atmosphere that is low in threat yet high in challenge. And that's something to consider as an instructional designer. And finally, Principle 12, remember that each brain is uniquely organized. Although we have the same set of systems, they're integrated differently in each and every brain. The more we learn, the more unique we become. Be sure to design instruction to accommodate all learning styles of the students or audience that you're creating curriculum for, and also provide choice for students when possible. So what does this all mean with implications to instructional design and teaching? Well, first we want to make sure that we orchestrate immersion. Learning environments are created that immerse students in a learning experience with learning outcomes. There's more than one way to teach. There's different strategies, different theories that need to be considered. Teachers need to use as many available resources as possible to create this dynamic learning environment. We need to have more relaxed alertness. Make sure that we have an effort to eliminate the fear while maintaining a highly challenging environment. Schedules should be more flexible. Think about as a professional or a research or business setting, we're not limited to, say, 1 hour of instruction to get it done, to get that task done. We need to consider that in our classroom environments, and this will require a shift. This is not something that can be achieved overnight. It does require teachers to take a look at what they're doing and make some changes. And then active processing. The learner consolidates and internalizes information by actively processing it. So we want to be sure to include activities that are more cognitive in nature. And then also instructional approach and teaching strategies. This particular theory lends itself to some of the more recent strategies used, such as project-based learning, problem-based learning, those that involve collaboration, 21st century skills, and apprentice community. Without having a community of learners and everyone on board within the school, this brain-based learning may not come to its full potential. So everyone has vast untapped capacities for learning, which can be suppressed rather than enhanced by the way that things are traditionally done. So the key to moving education into the future is to have a deep understanding of how people learn naturally. Then consider the different types of learning outcomes, gathering information, develop deeper understanding, creative insights, all of these. And an overall instructional approach should capitalize on this brain research and then blend the different types of outcomes with teaching strategies, such as self-directed problem solving, experiments, asking questions, reflection. And finally, the best system for brain-based learning is to have a learning community by blending schooling and life with every subject taught across the curriculum. Again, remember that every brain is unique. We need to consider it. Thinking is allowed. And this concludes this presentation on the brain-based learning theory. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful rest of the day.